Warning! Kinda Murdery contains adult themes, explicit language, and descriptions of violence. It is not suitable for anyone, and we recommend you stop listening now.
True crime with a dash of the paranormal, the garish, the strange, and the darkly comic. I'm Zevin Odelberg, host of Kinda Murdery, a podcast that's about more than just murder. It's my very own pocket dimension, home to a curated collection of bizarre and compelling stories, the unsolved, the unsettling, and the unbelievable. I cover it all, just so long as it's kinda murdery. That's right, folks, no lies there, nothing but Turkey Day truth bombs, because just like it says in the intro, I am Zevin Odelberg, and this is Kinda Murdery. I am back. We are back. My apologies that there was no episode last Sunday. A dear friend passed away and I was traveling for her memorial service. She was an amazing person, and for me, her sudden absence, while painful, is also a reminder that we have so much to be thankful for, not the least of which is the opportunity to wake up each morning, reveling in the good days and soldiering through the bad ones. And I do my best to be mindful that each day, good or bad, is a gift. And today is the day to be mindful of the power of gratitude. It's Thanksgiving Day, and I hope your Thanksgiving is a happy one, full of love, laughter, and delicious food. But I also know that holidays, especially family holidays, can be a difficult time for many people. I've had some tough ones myself. So if you're having a hard time this holiday, please remember that you can call 988, the free 3-digit lifeline number, anytime, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, to receive immediate counseling for mental health, substance use, and suicidal thoughts. And also, please always remember that you are loved and the world is a better place with you in it. So, if you're not having a happy Thanksgiving, if it doesn't feel like you have much to be thankful for, I understand. Sometimes Thanksgiving feels that way, but please know, for whatever tiny bit of joy it may spark, that I am profoundly thankful for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the Kinda Murdery community. Without your steadfast support, without you telling people to listen to the show, without you showing up to listen every Thursday and every Sunday, there would be no Kinda Murdery. And so again, on this day of thanks, I am so grateful for you. Now, this is just a segue. I'm not equating how grateful I am for each and every one of you to a delicious Turkey Day side dish, but I am also very thankful for the smell of fresh baked stuffing that's permeating my house right now. My wife makes this incredible cornbread, sausage, and sage and other magic ingredient stuffing that's basically pure ambrosia. And so, as I said, today on Thanksgiving, I hope that we all have much to be thankful for. But even if it doesn't feel that way, then hopefully at least we can be thankful not to have spent our Thanksgiving Eve being brutally murdered on a dairy farm. Such was the fate of the Germond family from upstate New York in 1930. We're about to investigate a 93-year-old cold, or maybe not so cold, case. So please join me as we uncover what truths we can and solve what mysteries we may. Kinda Murderies, Dutchess County Carving. The Thanksgiving murder of the Germond family starts now. In the deep shadows of Thanksgiving Day 1930, a grim tale unfolded in Stanford, New York, one that seeped into the annals of true crime history. The Germond family, residing on their serene dairy farm, found themselves at the heart of a tragedy that would send ripples of horror through Dutchess County and beyond. The details of this case, as gruesome as they are perplexing, would attract the attention of none other than Franklin D. Roosevelt, the then governor of New York and a fellow resident of Dutchess County. The night before Thanksgiving, a time typically filled with anticipation and joy, became the backdrop for a harrowing incident. 4 members of the Germond family were brutally murdered, their lives extinguished in a place where they should have felt the safest, their own home. This heinous act, occurring on the eve of a day synonymous with gratitude and family, only amplified the shock and horror that would envelop the community. As the news of the tragedy spread, the peaceful image of the dairy farm was shattered, replaced by a crime scene that would puzzle and disturb investigators. The motivations behind the killings, the methods used, and the identity of the perpetrator or perpetrators remain shrouded in mystery, although I believe there are some truths that we will reveal today. Now, the brutality of the murders, contrasted sharply with the tranquil rural setting, created a dichotomy that would haunt all those who learned of it. Governor Roosevelt, known for his leadership and his empathy, could not ignore such a significant and disturbing event happening within his own county. His attention to the case signaled its severity and the impact it had not just locally, but nationally. As we delve into this dark chapter, we tread carefully, we must, piecing together the clues and circumstances that led to this unspeakable crime. In a tale that seems more akin to a chilling novel than reality, we explore the depths of human nature and the shadows that can lurk in the most unexpected of places. The investigation into the murders of the Germond family on that fateful Thanksgiving Eve opens a window into a past filled with mystery, tragedy, and a quest for justice that captured the attention of a nation. The evening of November 26, 1930, Bernice Germond, an 18-year-old student at Eastman Business College in Poughkeepsie, was en route to her family's farm nestled on Salt Point Road. The journey, ordinary in every aspect, was about to spiral into a narrative steeped in mystery and horror. As the bus trundled to a halt in front of the Germond property, Bernice, with a note of concern, remarked to the driver, Mr. Dennis Haggerty, "Oh, looks like nobody's home. The house is dark." These words, innocent and unsuspecting, would tragically become her last known utterance to the outside world, a prelude to her encounter with an unknown and deadly fate. The Germond household, usually a beacon of warmth and familial comfort, stood eerily silent and unlit. The modest dwelling, a symbol of their comfortable yet unpretentious life, was shadowed by a shed, and further back a cattle barn, integral parts of their dairy farm livelihood. The scene, as reported by the Eagle News, painted a picture of a family not wealthy but content and well established in their community. Inside the home, a new high-priced radio in the parlor and freshly baked pies awaiting the Thanksgiving celebration in the pantry stood as testaments to their simple but fulfilling life. What transpired that night as Bernice stepped off the bus and into the darkness remains shrouded in mystery. The seemingly peaceful farm was to become the center of a gruesome investigation, one that would reveal the stark contrast between the tranquility of agrarian life and the brutal nature of the crime that occurred there. It was not just a case of murder. It was a disruption of the very essence of a family's sanctuary, turning a festive occasion into a grim charnel house that would haunt the community and catch the attention of a future president. The investigation into the events of that fateful Thanksgiving Eve would unfold a story filled with suspense, sorrow, and the quest for answers. On Thanksgiving Day 1930, an unsettling quiet hung over the Germond dairy farm, a silence that was about to reveal a harrowing secret. The first hint of something amiss came from the Borden Milk Company. James Germond, a diligent and punctual man, failed to deliver his standard batch of milk, an uncharacteristic lapse that repeated the following day, November 28th. Concerned by this unusual behavior, the company dispatched Willard Coons to investigate the delay at the Germond residence. Upon arrival, Coons was immediately struck by the eerie stillness of the farm, a stark contrast to the usual bustling activity. The only sound piercing the silence was the distressed mooing of cows, a clear sign of neglect from a family known for their meticulous care of their livestock. Coons, sensing something deeply wrong, headed toward the barn. In the barn, a startling scene awaited him. One of the cows still had a milker attached, an indication of a sudden and abrupt interruption to a routine milking. His apprehension growing, Coons proceeded to the shed, where a horrific discovery awaited him. The bloodied bodies of James Germond, 47, and his young son Raymond, aged 10, laid there, painting a gruesome picture of violence. Shaken and terrified, Coons raced to inform James' brother Paul Germond of the grisly find. After alerting Paul, Coons hurried back to the Borden factory to spread the alarming news. Driven by a mixture of dread and urgency, Paul Germond, along with his father-in-law and neighbor A.J. Curry, decided to venture into the Germond house before the arrival of the sheriff. The scene that greeted them was one of utter devastation. Inside they found Mabel Germond, 47, lifeless near the stove, and Bernice, in a haunting pose, wedged under the kitchen table. The brutality of the scene was overwhelming, a stark testament to the violence that had invaded the Germond family's home. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community. turning a place of familial love and Thanksgiving preparation into a crime scene of unfathomable horror. The peaceful farm, once a symbol of rural tranquility, had become the setting of a murder mystery that would captivate and horrify the nation. The question of who could commit such an atrocity and why loomed large as the investigation began to unfold, promising a search for truth laden with twists and turns. As the news of the horrific murders on the Germond farm spread, the scene quickly became a hive of activity. Police, coroners, doctors, neighbors, and members of the press converged on the property, all seeking answers to a crime that seemed incomprehensible in its brutality and suddenness. The farm, once a symbol of pastoral peace, was transformed into a chaotic epicenter of investigation and speculation. The examination of the crime scene revealed chilling details. Each of the 4 victims had been stabbed multiple times, with a total of 23 stab wounds shared among them. The precision of the attacks was noted, with each victim receiving at least 1 stab wound near the heart. This suggested a level of cold calculation and intent behind the violence. Particularly distressing was the evidence found on Bernice's hands, cut marks that indicated a desperate struggle to fend off her attacker. The savagery of the crime was unprecedented for the local police, who found themselves navigating unfamiliar and grisly territory. The first suspect to emerge in their investigation was a foreigner seen walking along the road near the farm. However, this lead, like those that followed, yielded no concrete evidence linking him to the murders. Another theory considered involved workers from a nearby site. The proximity and timing of their presence raised suspicions. But again, the evidence was lacking, leaving the investigators grasping at shadows. The angle of potential disgruntled suitors of Bernice was also explored, considering the personal nature of the attacks. Yet this avenue, too, led to dead ends. With each passing hour, the mystery deepened and frustration mounted. The absence of clear motives or suspects left the police and community grappling with unsettling questions. The idea that such a heinous act could be committed seemingly without reason or traceable cause was as perplexing as it was frightening. As theories were pursued and discarded, the case of the Germond family murders began to take on the grim aspect of an unsolvable enigma, a puzzle with pieces that refused to fit together. The Germond farm tragedy, a case marred by confusion and dead ends, escalated into a frenzy of activity and theories, and yet remained mired in mystery. With the Dutchess County Sheriff's Department and state police at the helm, the investigation into the brutal murders, now labeled the worst crime in the county's history, continued. The constant arrival of reporters and curious neighbors only added to the chaos, complicating the already challenging task of uncovering clues. A breakthrough seemed to emerge with the discovery of a large butcher knife, meticulously wiped clean of prints. This critical piece of evidence, traced back to its purchase, hit a frustrating dead end when the shopkeeper failed to identify the buyer. The pattern of promising leads turning into dead ends continued to be a reoccurring theme in the investigation. Among the multitude of theories, one centered on a mysterious stranger, the immigrant, Florentine Ermendi, seen near the farm around the time of the murders. His arrest in Brooklyn and subsequent release after failing to be identified in a lineup exemplified the challenges facing the investigation. Other theories, ranging from a scorned suitor of Bernice to disgruntled hunters and an irate road worker, all fizzled out without yielding any tangible results. As the case gained national attention and stalled, it transformed into a politically charged issue. The $25,000 reward offered by authorities failed to produce any leads. The involvement of Governor Franklin D. Roosevelt, prompted by local residents' dissatisfaction with the case's handling, added another layer of complexity. His decision to have the state's attorney general take over was met with accusations of political maneuvering by the Dutchess County DA, John R. Schwartz, and criticism from the county's Republican chairman, Frederick H. Bontekoe. I'm afraid I may have mispronounced Mr. Frederick H's last name there, but it's spelled Bontekou. Feel free to reach out and correct me. The investigation into the Germond's murder took a significant turn on February 1933, over 2 years later, with the arrest of neighbor Arthur Curry. Sheriff Oakley Cookingham, driven by his belief in Curry's guilt, built a case against him despite its circumstantial nature. Curry, with a history of violence and an alleged motive linked to a dispute over hunting rights, seemed a plausible suspect. However, the case against Curry unraveled in court. The prosecution's theory, suggesting the murders stemmed from an argument over hunting rights, was deemed speculative by the judge. The lack of concrete evidence led to Curry's release and the dismissal of the charges, leaving the sheriff and the court with, quote, too much suspicion and too little evidence, unquote. The Germond family murders, a case entwined with local and political intrigue, media frenzy, and a labyrinth of theories, ultimately remained unresolved. The dismissal of charges against Arthur Curry marked another dead end in a case that had become emblematic of unsolved mysteries, leaving a community and a nation with unanswered questions and a legacy of speculation about what truly happened on that fateful Thanksgiving Eve. The enduring mystery of the Germond family murders. It was recently revisited in a groundbreaking study by Dr. Vincent Cookingham, a distant relative of Sheriff Oakley Cookingham, who initially worked on the case. Dr. Cookingham brings a unique perspective, bridging historical context with modern forensic analysis. Granted access to the original records and the sparse remnants of evidence, Dr. Cookingham has undertaken a thorough re-examination of the case. His findings are detailed in his recently published book, The Germond Family Murders, a Forensic Conclusion to a Cold Case. In this work, he meticulously dissects every aspect of the crime scene, sifts through the web of rumors, and presents a compelling argument against the theory of a stranger's involvement in the murders. Dr. Cookingham's investigation appears to circle back to a suspect once dismissed, A.J. Curry. By applying contemporary forensic methods and insights to the decades-old evidence, Dr. Cookingham challenges the conclusions drawn by the investigators at the time. His analysis suggests that the nature of the crime, the specific details of the scene, and the context of the events align more convincingly with Curry being the perpetrator than with any other theory proposed over the years. The release of Dr. Cookingham's book reignites the debate surrounding this notorious case. Is it possible that after years of speculation, dead ends, and a litany of suspects, the true culprit was the one initially charged but subsequently released due to insufficient evidence? Dr. Cookingham's conclusions invite readers and true crime enthusiasts to reassess the facts and theories that have swirled around the Germond family murders for nearly a century. In the world of cold cases, definitive answers are often elusive, and the passage of time only complicates the quest for truth. Dr. Cookingham's book offers a fresh, informed perspective, potentially closing a chapter on one of Dutchess County's most infamous and unsolved crimes. Yet, in the absence of incontrovertible proof, the question remains. Is the mystery of the Germond family murders, a case I'm calling the Dutchess County carving, truly solved? Or does it continue to be the subject of conjecture and debate? Dr. Cookingham has presented his findings. He has decreed that A.J. Curry was the killer, and we, the public, are left to weigh the evidence, the Thanksgiving leftovers, if you will, and to decide whether Dutchess County carving, the Thanksgiving murder of the Germond family, is a cold case, no more. Thank you for being here. Until next time, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm Zevin Odelberg, and this has been Kinda Murdery.